Tulsa King. Special intro music. Guys, many games. We're back. I'm Steve Sombrato. I'm here with the GOAT, Vinny Sombrato, and a special guest. We've brought him in special for this holiday episode. Frankie T, Frank Tashman. How you doing, Frankie T? Let's get a little cheering for Frankie.
All good. Happy New Year.
God goes wild.
Start with a little new intro music. I knew you'd like that.
I like the Tulsa King music. Yeah. Like We're looking forward to next season, whenever that'll be.
It got a little goofy, to be honest. It started getting a little goofy at the end of this year, but it's still at least entertaining with all of the things on. That's at least fun to watch a little bit.
Definitely.
But Frankie, how you doing, my friend?
All good, all good. Enjoy being a grandfather. Little Ange is doing good. All good. Healthy, thank God.
Well, one
good
of the things
friends can't ask for better than that.
We broke out this episode for the holidays. Obviously it's off season. There's still a lot. There's always a lot to talk about anyway. There's always something going on. One of the things, firstly, and while we have Frankie T on, because I know he's got to jump off at some point, we went to, right at the beginning of November, we went to the celebration of life. John Phillips, the longtime player, coach, manager of Long Island Lacrosse Club, as well as Team USA as a manager, and very involved in that, very involved in the Long Island Metropolitan Lacrosse Foundation, in the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame. John's pretty much done everything in lacrosse, and for anybody that was involved in Long Island Lacrosse Club. And we've got Smalls.
Oh, he's on. Here he is. He made it.
Look who's there.
He made it.
Small, he's back.
I don't even know how I got on. I have no
did.
clue. Steven, did you send a link to the...
I did. So anyway, we're getting started. We got Frankie for a little bit, and we're talking about the John Phillips celebration that we, went to the memorial mass, and then they had a little get together. And what I want to ask Frank, I was amazed. It was so great to see so many longtime players, Hall of Fame players, All-American players. I mean, there was a who's who that was there, and it was nice to see that everybody made it out. For me, it was looking at a lot of mentors. There was a lot of mentors there, guys who such as yourself, that I grew up watching play and trying to emulate. What was it like for you, Frankie?
No, it was unbelievable. A lot of guys I haven't seen in probably 30 years, some of them. But, the Mickey Menes and, the older guys, when I was redshirt and I played at 19, I mean, it was just, it was great to see them. I mean, obviously we all got older, a little grayer, and everything. But, everybody looked great. It was good that everybody came out for John, because John did so much for the game. And it was actually a great send-off for him. And I think Sally and Andy and the family were pretty happy about it. So, I mean, it was a bittersweet, obviously, but it was it was good to see everybody. Let me tell you, you could have fielded, that was some team in there. You could have had two starting teams. You could have had two starting teams in there. That's how many great players were there. It was, and there was, a handful of Long Island guys like Hondo, and a couple of others that, obviously had great respect for John. So it was a great send-off for him.
What'd you think, Vin? What were your takeaways from that day?
Well, it spanned a lot of generations. Sue Postel and Dottie Thurl were there, representing Tom and Mike Thurl. And, you had guys who played. Ronnie Frazier made it down from Boston. He drove, I don't know how many hours it took him, but he got there. So you're talking about generations of players that played through the Long Island team, from the 70s on through right to when more or less the team. When the MLL started, obviously there was a big fall off with the MLL because we had so many good players that almost every top player from the team ended up in the MLL. But it was really great to see so many people there. You had Blaney McEnany there, who came with Mickey Mena, and you had, like you said, Hondo was there. You had the Engel Keys. You had, just the list went on and on. Like you said, a team, Swino and Eddie Hughes, which is those are my contemporaries, Randy Natoli, Matt Crowley, and these are all Long Island players.
Snapper.
Yeah, then you throw them in as world team players. You probably had as many as eight or nine world team players at the thing. But
Yeah.
it was more than just guys' accolades and guys as players and all of that. It was family. That's the more
Yes.
important thing. It was about paying tribute to John, who put in so many years and really was the glue. You have to have that guy who does the organizational part of it, which is always, everybody's least favorite part of it. But John did it. He kept it together, the scheduling, the directions to games, making sure who was going to make away games, not get there. He always had that on him. And obviously, from year to year, who was going to be on the team, because that changed. But I think that the beauty of the Long Island team, was the consistency, the guys who came to play. We had guys come and go and come play for us, go play for another team, come back. But there was always a real core of players that, kept us going and kept that team strong. It made us, more or less, we were, the Yankees of the club lacrosse ranks. There was other great teams down south, but for the most part, up in the north, we really dominated for so many years. And that was with some very good teams coming up against us when, New York AC developed, and North Hempstead and Tobay, and, everybody took runs at us. But, I credit John with keeping a lot of it together, the coaching staffs, the whole bit that he did, and it was great to see Joe McConnell. He's, really one of the last of the Mohicans.
Willie Cheech.
Willie Cheech was there. He didn't bring his scorebook, but I mean, this guy's got scorebooks from 25 years ago, and that was another big component. I mean, there's a guy who had 100 kids and still made it there
Yeah.
every Sunday to be there, keeping the book.
Yep.
And, so
They were very
these
loyal,
kinds-
Vinny. They were very,
yeah,
very
these
good.
kinds
They
of
were
guys
great.
don't get enough credit for it. But beyond the Long Island team, John, went to a whole nother level. John was special in that way, his organizational skills, and obviously U.S. Lacrosse recognized that and had him as part of these national teams. He was a big part of that also, and he just loved it. He loved all the players. Everybody loved him, and he just loved the sport.
Well, like his family indicated, and it was spoken many times that one of the great things about John, with all of these accomplishments and how successful the team was, he was very humble and he was very content with being in the background and obviously not getting a lion's share of credit. It's humble, like kind of like Smalley. Smalley's like humble like that.
Selfless.
Well,
He stays in the back.
Not like you guys. He's very selfless. Does things that are really important that no one wants to do. Those are things that matter in life. Many people everybody wants the glory, like you guys were all glory guys. This guy was behind the scenes so selfless. Did little things, did minimal things, wasn't talking about his own stats. He did things for other people, like Bill Barrosa's father. He used to fetch the balls. You guys be shooting balls, and this guy, 88 years old, be looking in the back for balls. Come on, Smalls, help me with the balls. I'd be helping Mr. Barosa find balls.
His mother did it too. Mrs. B.
No,
was
but like
out
you
there,
said,
too.
like you guys say, it's
Well, let me
the
ask you.
selfless act.
Let me ask you something, Smalls, from a different perspective. You came and played on Long Island.
I was a scrub. I know, Vinny. I was a scrub. Me and the other guy were scrubs. Go ahead.
Why are you getting negative? Why
You were a scrub. I'm Charmin also, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Take it easy. Slow down. I'm trying to make a point that, you had a limited career in lacrosse, but you came out for the Long Island team. There was a reason you came out for that team, the camaraderie, whatever it was, whether you wanted to compete. So what was your perspective from a guy who was, you didn't play a lot of lacrosse, but you wanted to be part of the thing? And did John, welcome you in that situation?
No, he was a good guy. He really was a good guy. Liked all you guys, really. He was part of something. Like you said, the glue. All you guys said important things. But the thing is, it's a selfless act. That's what he does. When you do things like that, that's what makes a guy great. It's all selfless, things that nobody wants to do. Keeping the score,
Yeah,
bringing the scorebooks,
he was one of a kind. There's nobody like him now.
like that. And you look back and J.D. McConnell's dad, what's his first name? Not Butch. The father's name is Butch. But
Was the father?
I
Joe.
mean,
Willie Cheech.
I
Willie
mean, you
Cheech.
got Tom Postel.
This
Mrs.
is
Postel
actually
showed up.
this is actually John's stick that he gave to me.
Wow. Look
You
at
know?
that.
Look at
This
that
is
thing.
actually it's like a semi-long pole, but it's not really
Smalls,
that
you could
long.
even catch with that big stick.
I don't even know how they could play with that, to be honest. I got to be honest.
The Indians played with it. That's all they had.
I mean,
They figured it out.
back in the day, that was probably pretty nice, but it's such a different world now. But it was nice, to see
Everybody there. Postel's
it was
wife
amazing.
is there. What's her first name again?
Sue.
Sue Postel. What a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Following him around his whole life. What a storybook they are. Listen, I can't even believe I'm a part of it. I was a nobody, and I'm on the team.
And the end of an era with those guys.
Smalls, and I think maybe Smalley had left by the time Ronnie Frazier had gotten there. We were going to ask Ronnie if he had an extra helmet laying around.
I'm an 8 3/4. Ronnie's an 8 1/2.
The only one. It's the only one that would fit Smalls.
I said, Ronnie, Smalls needs the difference between Ronnie and Smalls. The reason Ronnie was able to get into it was back in the day, the helmet he was wearing had the laces in the back. You could loosen them. I don't think he had any laces in.
You imagine me playing with Ronnie Frazier, Sombrado, and I'd be a first team All-American hands down. I mean, you're playing with great players, so how could you not get better? Am I wrong?
That's true. We definitely, everybody who played for the team, we definitely made each other better.
I would have loved to play with the Gates. I've been the third guy on the mid. Are you kidding me? Gary and Paul, guys like that, or the other guys.
You're going to take Dumpson's spot. God.
Great athlete. Great athletes can adapt.
Yeah.
So, Frankie, what would you say? What would you say of the guy? I just want to maybe get a little bit of history. In terms of being there and seeing all those guys. What memories of the mentorship of the guys that were there was nice for you to see them again and catch up?
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I was 19, when I redshirted my sophomore year, don't forget now I'm playing with Eddie Hughes. Rob Engelkey my first year, Mickey Mena, all these different, Tommy Sweeney. I mean, the attack. So I got to play with these guys who actually taught me and were my coaches in high school, Eddie and Rob, which were great. And, even Mickey Mena, these guys would help me out because, let me know where I should be on certain things and everything. So I learned an awful lot from those guys. They were very good to me. It was an honor to play with them because I had always watched them play, but I never played with them because I was still in high school and they were in college and clubs. So it was a unique experience that, when I went to Adelphi after the red shirt, I mean, I was so much far ahead just in general with everything, leadership, playing, where to be.
You were the young buck, right?
Other guys. I was the young buck on Long Island. I was 19. These guys were 25, 27, 28. Some of them were even 30, but, still young. But in the lacrosse world, they had played a lot of years.
Frank, you look great today. You look young today, bro. You look young today.
42 today, not 62.
It's got the new choppers and everything.
How many facelifts have you had? How many facelifts?
Well, listen.
None.
Listen,
Zero.
For Tash, for you and me and for Steven, we all didn't have normal paths of going to college and playing, coming out of high school and going 4 years. So you did your stint at 19 on Long Island. I did a stint at 19 on Long Island. And I think Steven was 18 when he was first on Long Island.
Right.
So, obviously that had an impact on us, in terms of guys who shared their knowledge and and made us better players by if you listen to them,
Right.
you know. But I say it all the time, you know, what happens now in college, sometimes these kids are taking an extra year as a prep school. Some of them are holdbacks, but you know, we
Yeah, it's
came through high
amazing.
school. We came through high school and then ended up, you know, playing for a club team, which I don't think you could
Yeah.
have got a
Which
better,
was
you know,
like the best team in the
situation.
world.
You know, past the skill level and everything. I know for me, I'll speak for myself. I think that year I was off in between my sophomore and junior year and playing for Long Island, I learned a lot of lacrosse, but I think the thing that impacted me the most was the confidence that I gained. You know, when I was
No
playing
question.
with and with these
Total
kind of guys,
confidence, Vinny. Total.
and then it was like I know for me when I went back to college, I was like I had no fear of any player I was playing against because I just came from playing against what was supposed to be the best, not only the best guys we played against, but to practice with the guys on my own team. That was a big thing for me, you know, in my growth, you know. So I thank the club. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with the, you know, Tom Postel and Tom Flatley and John behind the scenes more. He wasn't doing as much as of the coaching, but you know, he was the glue guy.
Well, Vin, let me
Yeah.
ask you, how would you, because you're right. For me as well, I would say, you know, if I was in a practice again out of high school, hadn't gone, I was 18 years old, and I'm playing, and Norman is playing, and the goalie is Larry Quinn, and D Tomaso is guarding me, and you know, you got this is like you're not gonna
Tito.
by the time I get to college, I'm saying there ain't nobody as good as these guys that I've already at least been practicing with and learning from. So that does give you that confidence boost, you know. But you know,
Totally.
what would you say, Vin? What would you say? How could somebody emulate that today, or it can't be emulated today for a kid?
It's pretty tough to you know duplicate that situation. I
Because
think
even if
the
you're
one
out, you're getting older, but you're not getting that type of level of competition.
no, I think the thing that helps for
This is a
today, the difference. I mean, you know, we were doing it right on the field with guys. The one thing advantage kids have today is there's an ability to go on YouTube and watch these guys. You know, you can watch old film,
right,
you can
right.
watch current film, you could see so much and learn. I mean, if I was coming up right now, I would watch a lot of game film and like these instructional things
Yeah,
because you can learn a lot. I mean, clearly the skill level of kids today is better. You know, you just held up a stick and you showed that wooden stick. Look at the difference between trying to play with something like that and playing with the equipment you got today. But a lot of the things of the game don't change. You know, it never changes. The fundamentals of the game stay the same. Positioning, learning how to cut, learning how to defend, learning how to dodge by a guy, how to run past people. All those things remain the same. You know, they change here and there, and guys are getting better educated at it. But and the training,
The closest thing that I've seen to it is when we had those workouts at Alley Pond.
yeah,
When we were doing those Alley Pond workouts, and you had guys all levels from freshmen and sophomores in high school that were very good players, all the way up through guys in college that were making their way through their college careers to some guys that were playing in the pros, Mac
yeah,
O'Keefe and Jake at the time.
right,
You know, I think
Crawley,
that's Crawley,
yeah.
exactly.
We had that was a mix, and that's why the way we did it was, you know, we broke up the team somewhat evenly as best we could, so that you know there was young guys on each side, and you know, and pros on each side, and what I always liked doing there was just letting them play. You know, you remember how it was. I mean, I basically was running up and down the field with a whistle in my mouth. I was kind of the ref and just telling them, you know, some things on the fly because
Right.
I know as a player when I was playing, I hated to go to something where, you know, it was instructional, you know, and you stood there and there was a lot of talking. You know, there's times for instruction, but there's times for playing. So, you know, those kids who came to work out with us at 6:30 in the morning from 6:30 to 8, that hour and a half that we had, I know they want to play. So, I had to adjust and basically coach on the fly. And when you took a water break or something, or there were other guys on the side, like you were playing, but, there were other guys who stood on the sidelines, Joe Dux was there, Corello, and your different guys.
Joe
So as they
Ducks.
guys, talked to them as they came. Tash came and he talked to guys as they came off the field instead of stopping them from play. So I think the kids looked forward to those Saturday mornings because it was an hour and a half of just really going after it, and it was really a lot of fun for them. And that's the most important thing. I think that's the other aspect of, we were competitive with the Long Island team, obviously, but we just really had fun playing. The practices,
Had the best time. The practices were better than some of the games,
they were,
right?
because we were going against each other and it was more competitive. I mean, a lot of the games we played, we lumped teams up pretty early. We get big leads right away. And so some of the games weren't great, but practice was always great, because we were splitting up
Yep.
the teams evenly and we went at it. And that's where I think everybody got a chance to develop their game.
I also
Absolutely.
think, that with John, and this goes for many others, Flea was there, Billy Redman, who ran Tobey.
Right.
Obviously, Harvey wasn't around. If Harvey was alive, he would be there. Jimmy Butler, who runs Suffolk and is also getting into the Long Island Hall of Fame this year.
Right.
Well deserved. Because without these guys, there
Howie
is no
Balkan
league.
was there. Howie
Balkan as well for New York
The-
DC. Exactly. If these guys are not involved, you don't get to play. It's like anybody who makes a league. What Brendan Wallace is doing the summer league, or it was John Pappas at a time. When they're not doing it, if they don't exist, there's nowhere to play.
There's nowhere to play. Those guys created like a big playground for us.
They do
It was
it. They
great.
give you the opportunity to play, and and their contributions can't be overlooked. There is big, or if not bigger, than any player accomplishment or team accomplishment that you can have, because without them, it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist.
Did you guys talk about the big controversy yet or no?
We didn't get to that, but I want to get before
Hold
Frankie
on.
goes, because I
Listen, guys, I gotta jump off now, but I just wanted to say thank you for having me. Hopefully, I'll be on again.
listen, but before you go, I know we were talking about this because you played in the 80s, right? Primarily. Yep.
Right.
What you were saying about the guys, maybe the top 5 guys that had the best hair in 80s.
The best hair in the world, the top 5. You got Eddie Wallace with the big afro, number 5. Then you got Donnie Borges, the Portuguese afro. Donnie Borges had a great afro.
Why is it different?
They were thicker curls, a little wider curls, not as tight. Donnie Borges had the greatest Portuguese curls. Then you had, Moon, a.k.a. the Poodle. Moon had the best. He looked like a poodle with those golden locks with the mullet.
Richie Mullen, my coach, that post.
Yeah, he could have been in the Westminster dog, show there with that hair. Norm had great hair too. Norm Engelke had that great, those blonde, tall locks, and then Tony Manero, a.k.a. Vinny Zambrano, with the best hair in the world. If you look at him today, he hasn't missed a beat. He's right now, I got him clocked at 6'5.5". Trying to say his hair is tall today.
But Frankie, what happened to me?
Listen, usually by the end of the day, around 7 o'clock at night, he goes back down to like 6'2.5".
He gets a haircut.
Yeah, but so those are my top 5 hair from the 80s. I'll be back maybe next week, and I'll give you some other top 5.
Bring us some meatballs, Frankie.
Everybody?
Come on. We need homemade meatballs from your wife.
All right. See you, Frank.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care, Tash.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Keep your app open so you upload. All right. So that was that. The next topic I had on the list, maybe a little bit before that, but even before the John thing, but Smalley held himself an event at the Cap Grill. Smalls, maybe you give us a little recap of the dinner at Cap Grill. We never discussed this.
That's interesting. I forgot about that. Was that about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start it off like this. They were having Igloo was having a what do you call it?
Kind of showcase event.
A
Showcase event.
showcase event. And so he invites all the college coaches. They get paid or whatever they do. They do pretty good. They've been going down there for many years. He puts on a good show, really does. Anthony Alexander definitely puts on a great show. And then you got Mike Ferrone. They do a great job. So the night before everybody flies in, it's like a little bit of a dead area. Of course, they know Vinny and you guys, so we decided to put on a little dinner party. It started off with maybe 5, 6 people, then it grew. So at the dinner party, it was at the Capitol Grill in one of the back rooms. One of our friends was able to get back there. I called him up, Timmy O'Connell, who usually does, his sons play basketball for Chaminade. One plays for NC State. The other one, Thomas, coaches at over there at Chaminade. But they were able to get us the back room. So it was like the who's who. So I said, who do you want to go? And you guys invite Thomas. So we invited Thomas from Chaminade. He's now going to be coaching. Maybe someday he'll be the head coach. Next few years, it looks like he might get the job if he's lucky at Chaminade. And then we had you guys make fun of the coach from Georgetown. I messed up his name. It's spelled W. Mike Warney. Am I correct or no?
Well, first of all, I'll make a correction. We didn't make fun of him. You came up with the wrong name.
I asked you what his name was. I didn't say make.
You did a slip, Mahoney, but you said we made fun. We weren't making fun of him. You gave up.
Oh, excuse me. Vinny, if you want to get technical, I looked over. And there you are laughing. Was Vinny laughing?
Because you said the guy's name is Kevin Warren, and you came in and called him Mike Warnay or something like that.
Yeah, because you guys were setting me
the
up.
wrong first name, and you put your own spin on his last name.
But you guys did set me up and enjoy the setup, and because I asked how to spell his last name, because it does have an E on the end, and maybe you guys, I thought it was W-A-R-N, then somebody wrote down W-A-R-N-E-E, and then somebody said there was an E. I don't even know how to spell his last name now. But anyway, it got a little out of hand, so he was there. It was kind of fun. Great person, great sport. And then we had the other coach there from Maryland, Vinny's dear friend. And who else was there? Go ahead, Ben.
Well, we had John Tillman, coach of Maryland, was there. We had Seth Tierney was there. We had Joe Amplo, coach of Navy, was there. We had, who else, Stephen? We had, well,
Ronnie
you
Caputo.
said Ronnie Caputo from Duke.
Duke University is, yeah.
You had Jerry Byrne.
Jerry Byrne, of course.
Jerry Byrne from Harvard.
Yeah, Harvard. So, it was nice. These guys all have relationships. Some of them have coached together. Some of them played for Seth at Hofstra.
I couldn't believe it, but Seth said that.
For Seth, So, look, we know that lacrosse has all these cross connections. It's crazy.
It's amazing,
when
yeah.
You really even look at these coaching ranks of guys who've coached together. Joe Amplo coached with Seth. There was definitely a big Hofstra flavor in there. In fact, Seth, I think, gave me this shirt that night. Gave me a nice Flying Dutchman.
Right, he came in with shirts, Seth. I got one too. I'm trying to lose some weight to get into that shirt. I think it's
so. It was nice to meet them and have conversation in a relaxed atmosphere where they don't have to really do their coach speak. They're just relaxed and talking, and we got to talk a little bit about their teams and who we even thought were the teams to beat this year, right? Didn't we even go around the
Yeah, we went around the team.
Who do you see as the final?
The funny part about that was, and I guess it's not funny because I think they'll have a very good team, but how much of them respect what Gary's doing at Syracuse? A lot of them had Syracuse in their mind as being up very high this coming year. So
yeah,
they had them going to the final. I asked each individual coach. I did put them on the spot a little bit, and they able to answer. So, Mr. Jerry Byrne said that he thinks Cornell could be in there. He did say that, and he did say he did say Cuse. He did say Cuse like that, So.
But he said I think he had at the top of his list Notre Dame because I think he said they scrimmaged them and they beat them up. They beat up Harvard pretty good. So it's going to be interesting. There hasn't been a three-peat in a long time. Notre Dame is going for it. They got the shot to do it, to be only, I think Syracuse had three and I think Princeton did three, right? So those are
Hopkins did three.
and Hopkins did
And
it. So
Hopkins.
you had three-peats before, but not so much in the last 20 years, right? So
No, not no that. No, this would be a whole new phase.
Well, a couple teams had chances, but they didn't get over the top. Virginia could have done it. They fell short.
yeah, no, there were teams that have been close. I mean, going back, Cornell when they had their 42-game win streak, they had their shot.
Right.
They lost in the finals.
Carolina had a shot.
Carolina, they had the double. They were going for three. It's tough to do. It's definitely
really
talking to coaches. They definitely highly rate Notre Dame.
Now here's the next rumor going around the internet. Because the next day we got to, we went over to see the kids playing and the coaches coaching, and we got to see Gary, who was not, he couldn't make it that night to the dinner. Some of the guys came in the morning, and we saw Dave Petramala, the assistant down at Carolina, and we were talking to him. We had a long conversation. He's a high school teammate of mine, and Smalley got on the topic of his friendship with Bill Belichick, and there's a rumor that Smalley put Belichick's name in the with Belichick going to possibly coach the football. That this whole idea of Belichick has come from Smalley.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that, Smalls?
Well, no, it's funny because we want to talk to him, and he's always a great conversation. I mean, a guy like that, coaching that long, he's bigger than life. He's just a big, he loves the conversation, and he struck up a good friendship with Belichick, which is interesting, for lacrosse because the history of Belichick and everything. And they say Belichick's going to come to coach at Carolina. He'd be the next head coach, and that'd be unbelievable going down to Carolina, partying with Belichick and him. Could you imagine us? 3 guys from Long Island going down with Belichick now. Now I'm friends with Belichick. I mean, come on. How does it get like that?
I can't even imagine it.
Oh, my God, man. But no, listen.
Vin, that was a good weekend.
That was a great weekend. I thought we had a lot of fun. You have breaks. You have a break for the coaches to grab a little something to eat and all. And Tony had a tent set up there with all kinds of food, and he had a guy was acting like a maitre d'. The guy was great, running around.
The chef. We had the chef. I forgot about his name. He came to the party that night.
He was great. So they were very hospitable. We were sitting there and we were talking with Dave. As Steven said, he was a teammate, and obviously I was a teammate with Petro, a couple world teams and stuff. And then the funniest was he got there late. He just flew in that morning, was Corrigan,
the coach of Notre Dame, Corrigan, yeah.
And he went, he grabbed a plate of food and he sat down with us and we just laughed for about 45 minutes, just talking about not only lacrosse, everything that popped into our heads. And
crazy questions I'm asking, yeah.
It was funny. When he got up, he had a big smile and he said, I really enjoyed this, and then of course, the whistle blew and they all had to run back out onto the field, But, it's nice to get to talk to these guys and get their perspective. We're not talking about X's and O's. We're not talking about even lacrosse so much. We talk about who was, I know that Kevin Corrigan was at Virginia when my dear friend John Driscoll was there, getting his perspective, what Driscoll was like when he was in school. And, there's so much history with these guys, you got
37 years coaching. Yeah.
You got Jerry Byrne, who, is the younger brother of Steve, who I played with on the U.S. team, and hearing his stories about following in his brother's footsteps and stuff like that. It's like things you ordinarily don't hear from these guys. They're comfortable enough with us that, we have personal relationships and, Smalls is a Levittown guy. He goes back to, Jerry was talking about at dinner that night, Smalley playing at the park in jeans, no shirt, and Converse basketball all the time. These are things that guys are remembering. And so, you know, I think sometimes when of course, you go back to Dave with high school, and I helped out a little bit with Eddie Covid then now and then. And of course, we had that great team in the summer that when Dave came out of high school, we won the championship. We're talking about that. But, there's those relationships that span 30, 40 years with guys. That's what makes lacrosse special, I think. I think
Jerry's also a Chaminade kid, Vinny. You knew that. I knew you knew that.
Who's
So
that? Jerry?
Burns
Yeah,
also a Chaminade
yeah,
kid.
yeah,
So are
yeah,
you. So
yeah,
is my father. So is Steven's his son. I call him Sticks. I always forget his name. Steven. What's your son's first
yeah.
name?
Steven, like
I
that.
forgot. We call him Sticks all the time. The nickname. Now you call him Sticks. I forgot. You guys call him Sticks. He's got long
But
legs. He's
yeah,
playing
listen,
basketball.
all that was that was a great weekend, and it was good to connect with guys and see them.
And we're going to have a big year coming up. We got to get a good commitment from Smalley because all of these guys are coming on. And when, the season is really less than, 60 days away. Basically, the kids will be practicing. There'll
It's
be
freaking
scrimmages
crazy.
and games are going to be starting. So, once the games start going, we're going to be having our weekly episodes, and we're going to get these guys on to talk about what's going on with their teams, but also obviously get some of the other stuff. We like to go back and talk about them also. But that's
Yeah,
when we're really going to
we
be
got a
getting in
lot to
gear.
discuss. A lot of the COVID stuff is filtering through now. I think maybe this is the last year that you're going to have those older guys, COVID guys, grab that extra year. So things might get a little more normal. I think that the COVID thing did reveal. You all right, Smalls? You going to make
Yeah,
it?
just do some sit-ups. Go ahead. my,
It
my early morning exercises. I got.
might be why your abs look like that.
Don't laugh. I
Yeah,
hold the
that's
rest.
why you got abs of steel.
In
He's got
college, I
abs
did
of steel.
1,116 sit-ups,
Yeah.
317 push-ups. Yeah,
Another 100,000, you might get somewhere.
that's good. That's good. Mr. Magoo over here, Charlie Magoo. He's the best. I want to get into the big controversy.
Hey, well, before we get, I know you want to get to the big one, but let's get to the little one. I wanted to see what your thoughts. Maybe we'll start with Smalley on this one first. So there was a big trade. They made a big trade. Boston, who had drafted Pat Kavanaugh. I never felt like the way they had him out of position. I thought playing midfield was not his natural position when they had his brother playing, Matt, also. And then Matt sort of kind of fell off there where they took him. He wasn't getting in the lineup. Pat went back to attack, which is a more natural position, I think, for him. And now they've apparently moved on and made the trade with Denver and moved Pat Kavanaugh to Denver. What are your thoughts on that trade, Smalls?
That's going to have to play itself out. Now it's a long travel for the kid, so he's going to have to. He's not going to be living in Denver. He's going to travel to Denver.
Well, the travel, it doesn't matter. They travel wherever they travel, week to week.
I know, but a lot of home games from one end to the other means a lot. No, see how he does.
Home games.
They don't have home games. They go city.
Oh, they go city. Oh, yeah. So he. It depends if he likes it. If he likes it, wants to do good, he could get better.
He's teamed with your guy Brennan O'Neill now.
I think it'll be good. I think it'll be different. Yeah, I'm looking for a big year for Brennan.
I think he's better suited playing attack. Obviously, I mean that's the where he made his name. And what he did in college and all. I think it's a plus for Denver. I think that he can play well with O'Neill. He's a good feeder. And O'Neill, I think to me, O'Neill, you're better off trying to get O'Neill shots by other guys generating the shots for him than having him have to do it one-on-one, because from history shows that certain guys in covering him and in the PLL, I mean, he's had times where nobody could cover him, right? And he's had games where he they take him out of the game, depending on maybe the size of the defender on him. Maybe when he has a physical matchup that he could dominate, that's when he's dominant. And when he's got big, strong guys who overplay him and take him out of the game. But I think that, to me, the way he can shoot the ball, as a coach, I'd want to be getting this guy, 5 to 10 shots every game on kind of step downs, not necessarily off dodges. I'd want to get him step downs. So if Kavanaugh could facilitate to give this guy step downs, I mean, if this guy's getting step down shots and he gets if he gets 5 to 10, he's getting almost 5 goals every game, but he doesn't get those kind of shots in the games. You don't see him getting.
Here's the thing I'm hoping for O'Neill, and I think every player should, when they have the opportunity, should do this. It's the other thing. Indoor has started. Brennan O'Neill's playing with the Wings. If he keeps playing indoor for the next 2 or 3 years, his game is going to get so much better because he's going to realize how he has to get quick shots off. He's going to play differently. He's playing differently already. I watched him play the game. He's moving off the ball. He's coming off picks, having to get balls and shooting them fast. This is a skill that he probably did not gain over the course of his life, where he's always been a bigger, stronger kid, and they throw the ball in his stick and let him steamroll somebody. He's going to learn this playing indoor, like any kid will learn this if they were playing a high level of box. And his game's going to open up at that point. I think he becomes very dangerous being able to learn those nuances of the game, and then you couple them with a good feeder. They might have something really good going in Denver this year.
Yeah, well, listen, you said become dangerous. The guy's always been dangerous. I mean, he's clearly a generational player. He's done some very special things in his career so far, but he definitely.
Wait, what did you just say? Who are we talking about?
Boy, this guy, you're not paying attention.
Brennan.
Again. You went into your own world.
No, hold on, because I said that a while ago and I got criticized for that.
You got criticized for what?
Call him a generational player.
No, you didn't get criticized for that.
You can't. If we go back on the tape, yeah, but go ahead, man. I don't know. Go ahead.
He don't pay attention. Then he's got to jump in with something. This is what he loves to do. This guy is
listening. I heard you say something.
Machine. He just wants to
attack me. Listen, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like
all right, you agree with me? That's fine. You agree with me, generational way. Go ahead.
You were the first guy who noticed him. They were recruiting him since 8th grade. He was committed to Penn State in 8th grade, but you found him. But anyway, like you said, I think he expands his game by playing indoor. I think it may help him figure out in some of these games where he's been stymied. I mean, come on, let's face it. He has games where he gets 9 points and then he gets 1 point, So it's not, he's got to find a level of consistency, and I think playing him.
It's finding it in a different way. You can get stymied.
That's what I'm saying. Of course.
And he's now going to learn that, and he's going to be dangerous. He's going to be like, this guy is maybe the steamrolling way is not going to be that successful, but I'm going to work off of a pick, or I'm going to get a switch, or I'm going to get a quick stick. He's going to be able to, and that he's going to get from indoor. He really is going to get that from indoor.
No, I mean, listen, we say, look, people who watch kids in terms of development, how many times do you see kids that are like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and guys are like, oh, he's the next whatever, right? And a kid is just physically dominating and steamrolling people, right? And guys who really know say, well, he better adjust, he better learn other ways how to play, because he's not going to always get away with playing this certain way, So right. O'Neill, as great as he was at every level of his career so far, he still can learn. And that's the point of the game. That's again, another beauty of the game, that you still have room to grow, and he'll get better at certain things.
True. Well, I still think, my takeaway is that's a good trade for Kavanaugh, and it's a good trade for Denver. I don't know what Boston will get out of it. I know they got some picks. I know that, some things, we'll have to see how that works out for them. But I think it's certainly good for Denver. I think that's going to be an exciting thing to look at with all of the young guys they have as they continue to develop together. They're definitely going to be the much must see TV to watch that team play. Summer.
To me, all these games are great. You have so many tight games. Look, the one thing I always said, and I'll go back to, we started this whole show by talking about, our club team and all. And I said we had a nucleus. The problem, in terms of the pro league is I don't know what the shelf life is for these guys playing in the pro league. They go get other jobs, it gets a little difficult, maybe traveling and all of that. But when we had a club team, when you got a nucleus of 10, 11 guys that have played together 6, 7, 8, 10 years together, you know how to play together. You know what to expect out of a guy. When you're plugging in and playing with this PLL, sometimes you do have some form of a nucleus, but guys have been moved around left and right. That's why as a player you have to try to learn how to play with everybody and anybody. If you have that ability to adapt your game to a guy who's more of a feeder, to more of a dodger, and change your style of game, if you got all that vast array of skills, you could play anywhere. And that's, important,
Fact.
I think, for kids as they're coming up. Don't, even though you're being successful, don't limit yourself to that success, because there's going to come a time where what you're doing may not work. And can you go to a plan B? Do you have any kind of plan B or plan C? And that's the thing, that you need. But, I love watching PLL. I think it's so high level. I love the skill level. I love the competitiveness. I like the rules. I like everything about it. I enjoy the games a lot. But
I agree with that.
yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Really
But
is
the
good.
fact that that a team can change quite a bit from one season to the next, that also makes it kind of interesting. But we're used to, the guys that are playing today are used to that because, when we were coming up in the club, there weren't all these tournaments. There was Vale and maybe one other one. Now you got a zillion tournaments. So these kids are used to like, oh, I'm going to go play in this tournament with this team. So they're used to playing with different guys.
Right.
So, and that's good. I think that's a good thing. But that, if I had to give any advice to young players or even guys who are in college, learn to be versatile. That the coach can take you one day and use you as an offensive player, as an attack or midi, and you have a skill set that he says, look, I think I could use you on the wing because you can also pick up balls and you could turn it into instant offense because of your offensive skills. That gives a coach a lot of options in terms of playing a guy. And it gets you on the field as a player because let's face it, it's different. I was talking about with somebody about, the different world teams I was on. And I said, we used to use 3 midfields. How could you be like a high scoring guy if you're using 3 midfields? You're running 3 midfields equally. You're playing like a third of.
The Lizards, we ran 3
Yeah,
midfields
that's
like
what I'm
that,
saying.
and that
It
was
may
2001.
Right. So my point is, statistically, you might go back and look at a guy's stats and say, well, he really didn't score that much. But when you combine the four other, the other
Right,
lines with that
exactly.
guy, so it was more spread out. And look, there's different schools of thought on that, on how to play it. Obviously, the game went towards, where
Offense, defense.
offense, defense, and it also went that, there's guys who, you just said it, Kavanaugh, who wasn't in his best position because they were using him out of the box. They're using attackmen as middies because they're just offensive players at this point. They're getting 6 offensive players out there because they're running off anyway. So, I mean, look, the game changes and, coaches adapt to it. But as
The
I
biggest the
said,
biggest change with that, Vin, and we could have a debate on whether it's good or not. People say, "Oh, well, there's not as much transition," and that's true. Maybe there's not as much, but the biggest difference is the transition in the game now is made by, you could argue, the less skilled offensive players. The transition is poles and defensive short stick
yeah.
middies, rather than being a guy who may be like a guy who was like an offensive guy. So it's basically taking away the transition of a midi, general two-way
Well, look,
midi.
the long stick midi guys, even the close guys who end up running the ball down the field, they're skilled enough today. Their sticks are so good, these guys, that they could actually get down there and play a little offense. I mean, not only just taking a shot from 20 or whatever, they run the field well. They know how to hit the point. They get it to the right guy. They're good at it.
But they're not guys you would arguably say, okay, it's a timeout and it's the last minute of the game. Let's put that short stick defensive midfielder out on the field on offense.
No, you're not going to do that. You have specialty guys. You have more
Right.
specialty type guys. But listen, even back whenever, if you're in the timeout and the crunch time in a game, you might mix up your midfields and take your best three guys to put them out on the field. You do that all the time. But what I'm saying is, you see a lot of transition created with the long stick, because these guys and they're athletic. Maybe look, I'm old, so I go back to where the most athletic guys didn't play defense. So
Right.
then they started to
It is
put
different. Right. Exactly.
they were
It's
then they
definitely
started to put the pole in the hands of guys. Listen, I gave one of my good friends and one of the greatest defensemen, of all time, Chris Kane. He ended up a two-time Schmeisser Cup guy. He was a midfielder in high school, Chris. Richie Moran saw something in him and said, he's okay as a midi, but I think he'd be much better with a pole. And they put a pole in his hand, and the rest is history. So, he's one of the first like prototypical guys like that who was an offensive player. They made a defensive guy, you know. So uh, it's just the game, the rules, the whole bit, the 2-point shots. And now you got a pole who's skilled, and he comes down and he takes a 2-point shot, changes the game, puts it in. These guys are ripping shots. It's just the evolution of the game has been great, and I think it's in good hands, and I think what they do is good. And I just don't like too much where they change rules all the time on the fly, like year to year, new rule, new rule, new rule. Because then to me it gets a little gimmicky, and as opposed to competition. They look to level the playing field with the face-off thing. With the way they shortened the shot clock. That I don't know all the analytics on that. I'm sure they have them because that league is unbelievable with the analytics. How many times teams won the face-off with that short shot clock and scored, or even got a good shot off, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they look at that because they do. They're thorough. But a coach has a lot to think about these days, in the way the game is played. It's not as simple as what coaching was maybe years ago. There's so much that goes into it, and how to give yourself an edge, and also even how you build your team, the kind of guys you want.
That's why they carry a little computer, the little thing with them all the time.
Yeah, that
Does
doesn't
that?
help. That doesn't hurt. The fact that you got instantaneous, right? You talk about these guys on the sidelines, even into college
Coach
level
Tillman
too.
does it. He never
Yeah, he
lets
does
that thing
that
out of his hand.
because a goal gets scored. He looks at it and he sees where they went wrong if they got scored on, and he says, okay. And now he grabs his guys during a timeout or whenever and says, this is where we went wrong on that last play. We're coming up too high. Don't slide. We're sliding too early. You can really, I mean, it's an advantage in coaching, no doubt about it, being able to
So
have
why
that.
don't they have it like football, where you got the earphones on upstairs in the cage
Yeah,
and they're
well,
looking
maybe
down
at
at the
some
field?
point they will. Maybe at some point, I think we asked one of the coaches about that, and they said
It makes an interesting
somewhat.
point because when you look from down on the field, you could see a guy actually moving towards the goal more or less and radio down. Isn't that why they're up there? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Why are they up there?
yes, of course, there's an advantage with that. I always said that you got a different perspective when you're looking at an overhead view. But I think one of the coaches when we were out at that dinner that night said something about like not all the schools had the capability or whatever, and that everybody has to do it. It's like what's going to happen. I think this year in high school, Stephen, this year is high school going to have the shot clock in that New
Yes,
York now?
Yeah. Yep.
yes.
So I mean,
But
look,
not every school, not every school's equipped with the, with the equipment. Most probably are, but I heard that if they don't have the equipment, it's really kind of on the referee at that point,
no, that's
giving them
mad.
extra buzzers and
I
everything.
mean, I think that's why they. I think that's why they. It took a little more time because they had to resolve the issue of knowing that you can get the shot clocks. Because those shot
Right.
clocks are not cheap, from what I.
No.
But I think down in Baltimore, they already been doing it for like 3 years.
Hey, go
Right.
ahead.
They were able to do it. So there we go.
There he goes.
His client's on the phone. Big Steve Weinberger at Bev Francis Gym. He's
Right.
got an order coming. He got a big order coming in. So
Might be a
look,
boxing team later.
you started this whole conversation off with talking about the Kavanaugh trade. I'll answer it this way. I think it's going to
Right.
be good for both of them. I think it's going to be good for Denver. I think it's going to be good for Kavanaugh. I think it's going to help O'Neal. And I think, Boston, they'll fill in with a lefty, I guess, because, you got Holman, right? Was big
Yep.
scorer. You had the big guy on attack there.
Molting.
Nolting, Asher Nolting. So they're going to have to just, if Matt Cav is
Well, they were using the kid from Villanova. They were using the Villanova kid.
Campbell.
Yeah, they were
Campbell's
using
a
him
midi.
down on the
They
attack.
put him on attack. They did.
And then they used they used one of those brothers also on the attack.
Yeah.
Asanian. They've used them.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, you're talking about guys that just considered
Oh,
offensive
sure.
plays.
let's get to Smalley's big topic because he wants to get to it. Go ahead, Smalls.
The big topic is I've been here. I got everybody calling, texting me, emailing me. The big topic of the week is I get the laughs out. Here we go. The experts got to laugh it out. No, the two guys. I don't know if we want to call. They stepped down. They got fired. I don't know how you guys want to say it, but you are the experts. Did they get fired?
I have no knowledge of it. Zero.
Well, I have knowledge that they resigned. So now you could say there's circumstances beyond the resignation, but the coaching staff, the chaos.
Stephen, address what's going on. Address to the fans what's going on.
So what Smalley, you try to get these thoughts out of him. I gave him the chance to explain it. At the beginning of the week, the coaching staff and Andy Towers, Matt Panetta, and Jamie Hanford resigned. That's what factually happened.
The chaos lacrosse of the PLL's coaching staff.
Yes. So that's what happened. They resigned. Now, that's not getting fired. Now, they resigned. So you have to then go to what are the circumstances behind that. That's where there doesn't seem to be as much clarity. And I'd ask you this, Smalls. Is there a responsibility to the fans that there is some clarity on it? Do they have to?
Why?
Do they have to? No, I'm asking you.
Yeah, the answer is yes. There's always clarity.
Well, there's not right now. I'm saying the fans are saying, well, we like the team. If you're a chaos fan, what responsibility does the league have to know what's going on? Why all of a sudden the coaches are resigning? What is it? Something's going on there.
Yeah, and nobody knows out there. The people the fans want to know, and also players want to know what's going on. Do we have, what's that word I'm looking for? Do we have transparency between, like NFL? If you take the NFL, sometimes you have to let them know. You can't just come out with some. They have to know for the press release to get it out there. What actually happened, to the coaches or whatever like that. And I think it's fair. Both ways you can look at it. Fair to the coaches,
Yeah, well, there's two ways. Here he goes. He's off again.
There he goes.
How are you?
There's two ways to look at it. Obviously, the league can do some kind of release, as to why, but it's not, from the league standpoint, I don't know it's in their best interest to have to give reason out there as to why they resigned, and that's it. So I could see the league just staying quiet. Whether the coaching staff itself wants to give an explanation as to why because when you say they resigned, that's their choice, right? Maybe if you talk to those coaches, that they wouldn't say, well, we resigned because if we didn't resign, we were getting fired. We got forced to resign. We don't know. We don't know any of the reasons behind it. So I'm not one to speculate or do anything else. I think that, clearly not so much Hanford and Panetta, they're more on the quiet side, doing their job, whatever. They're his staff. But Andy Towers has been a real presence in the league from the first year.
Right.
He's in some respects a fan favorite, right? The way he talks, the way his whole shtick,
Well,
he's got shtick.
this is again allegedly. Allegedly, this surrounds the assistant coaches, which is odd
Yeah,
to me
but
because
you shouldn't even. I wouldn't even talk about it. Let them come out with it. There's nothing to speculate or
well, they're
whatsoever.
not coming. They're not coming out with it. That's the thing.
Well, they definitely will come out at some point. It always does. It's just a matter of
It
time
comes
before
out. It
somebody.
comes out by people talking about it. That's how
Well,
it comes out.
no, it
You
comes
know.
out by the person who was affected by it talks about it. I mean,
Nah, I don't think they're looking at. I don't think that's. I don't know where they're doing that, but I think based on seeing that release that Towers put out, I saw a release that Towers put out, and it was pretty. It was pretty vanilla, you know,
I didn't
and
see that. What
yeah,
did he say in that?
he pretty much was, happy to be the coach of the team, and and that's
Okay.
that. So he didn't, wasn't saying one way or another what. Now, back in the day, there was a similar thing with Towers at Dartmouth. Apparently when my good friend, there was some issues with the assistant coach and coaches or on the staff, and Tim McEntee was on that staff, and the school was getting involved to some extent, and Towers left that job under like a similar thing. So I don't know that it was directed at Towers as much, and that people are talking about it like it's a similar thing. You know, I always find it strange if it is that where it's something, whether it's the players bringing it up about assistant coaches. I mean, if listen, it wouldn't be the first time where in any sport where if players were dissatisfied with the head coach, where the coach ended up having a problem and might have been out.
No, that's true.
Well,
But it's
let me
rare.
bring a little
To me, it's
focus. Can I bring a little
more
focus?
rare about the assistant coach. I mean, I as a player, I never would be. If you had a complaint about the head coach or the staff in general, that would be one thing. But to pinpoint maybe assistant coaches, I mean, who does that? I don't know.
Well,
I find that weird.
I'm sorry to overturn. Let me a little focus to this, right? What primarily we talking about? They left, but you got to look at something as just a coaching perspective. He was coach of the year just 2 years ago, so you gotta say to yourself, they're great coaches. They were very good coaches. Are the players complaining or whatever? Because Towers won coach of the year. Obviously, the guys.
Well, but you could argue something else. You could argue if you look at the teams. I say, is there an argument
Actually,
on a
2 years he won.
performance level? You know, he made it to the championship one year. They lost. He made it to the championship. They won. I
No,
don't know if
two
they
years.
made it
I
a
think he
third
went
time.
3 years or 2 or 3 years to the championship. He won one.
Right,
Yeah,
right. But
right.
the overall record of the team, I think they showed where they actually had an under 500 record.
Yeah.
That may be
Under
true, but that's the
500.
nature of the league, though. You're only playing 12, 13 games. A team gets hot at the end in a situation like that. It could swing that way. I don't know how much validity that would be in that. No team is going 9-0. How many
Well,
games
I
they
think
play?
more
I
teams
don't.
would.
I don't think he got pressured to resign or anything like that because of his coaching record or that. You know, it has
Okay, so that take
obviously,
that off the table.
yeah, it definitely has to do with something.
Wait, Vinny, I don't mean to pick on you, but you're speculating too. What do you
I
mean?
am
Yeah, but
the
that's what
whole
we
thing.
do.
I just said when we started the conversation, I have no knowledge of why he.
No, but I'm just
Whatever.
saying.
So
Just
we're
saying.
talking about. That's why I said this
Don't talk
segment for
about it. Right.
me.
You're right. He's right.
I don't even care to talk about it so much because I don't like guessing. But if you're asking my opinion on something and it has to do with his coaching ability and whether he was a good coach or not a good coach, you could argue both sides of it. You could say he won a championship and he got to the finals 3 times, but you could also say they have the most losses of any team, of the original teams. Their record is below 500. So, they always had a way of coming on toward the end of the year and into the playoffs. But you're talking about a 5-team league, 6-team league in the beginning. What do you really have to do to win a game to get it to the finals? Qualify and then win one game and be in the finals. It's not like it's a long season and it is what it is.
Right.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't look for whatever reason they resigned, and it's more of the conversation should be who would take that job? Who's the next guy going to be the coach there? Because
I'll tell you. You want me to tell you?
yes,
Go ahead.
All right. It's not going to be an American. I hear it's going to be a Canadian coach. That's what I'm hearing.
possible. It's possible.
That's
They got a lot
that's
of
my
Canadians.
opinion.
They got a lot of Canadians
You
on
want
the
my
team.
opinion? I gave you my
But
opinion.
look, think about this. How many of the original coaches are still there? The guy from the Whip Snakes,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Stagnita.
And who else? Pseudo.
Bates.
I mean, Pseudo.
Bates and
Was
Pseudo.
he?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, yeah. I mean, you had
3.
the Atlases had a bunch of different coaches.
Yeah, they've had a
right?
bunch. They've
Now,
had a
if you
bunch.
look at the different teams, the Water Dogs, guy won a championship, Copeland.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he resigned. So maybe people are reading more into this than's there. Copeland won a championship and resigned. Did they force him out? Did they this? Was there something went on? We don't know. He had
Listen,
enough,
if it's an American league, should it be all Canadians? I mean,
It's not all
does
Canadian.
it matter?
I think you get the best players you can get. Doesn't matter. I think you get the best players and the best fit for your team is what you do.
Well, listen, that's another, again, you hear things, again, it doesn't make it concrete because it goes back to my original statement. Should the league, in some release or whether the guys, in fairness to the fans and everybody else who follows the league, have a obligation to at least give some information behind why this is so that people stop talking about all the different things. Because the other thing that I had heard, and this comes from up north of the border, was that a lot of guys on the team were unhappy that other guys were not signed, which led to them not having as a successful year. And I don't know if that's the coaching staff's fault or however that manages the salaries of guys, and they were not happy about that.
Clearly, they didn't have arguably their best player or one of their best players in Dane Smith. I mean,
Right.
Reardon's a real difference maker, but Smith was great for them, Dane Smith.
Right.
And he didn't play this year because for whatever reason, maybe he wanted more money. They didn't want to pay him. Who knows?
What do they pay a coach a year between what and what?
I don't have any idea.
Between 50 to 100?
I have no idea.
From where I'm going with that is the question is how much control does a coach or general manager, which Towers was both of them, have in handling what the particular guys on his roster make from within a cap or anything else? What latitude does he have? And are guys unhappy with him because of some of those decisions? We don't know. That's why I say, you're hearing all different types of things. And if you're a fan of that team, is there an obligation of the league to at least give you a story?
Yeah, they're going to give it. They got to give it. They'll bring in other coaches. And I think Andy Towers is still going to be working for the for the league, I think, right? I mean, that's what I think. It's not like these guys got fired. They're just stepping down, you know?
I don't know. I don't know anybody who coached who remained in any position in the league. Any of the guys who
Yeah, they're
have
gonna.
stepped
I
down.
think Towers going to remain in the league. That's what I think. You know, if I had to ask, I think Towers. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll have to see what names emerge. It
But
would be
it's not
nice to
easy.
get.
It's not easy coaching these teams. Like I said, you're dealing with a lot of, you throw into it on top of it, you're throwing into it salary caps, maybe.
Yeah, they're
I
not
know
getting
when
paid a
we,
lot of money. It's like lunch money for
no,
Towers. Come on.
no. I know that when I, we played for the Lizards, right? You have a game day roster. You couldn't go over like 17-5 for the total
Right,
for who was playing in the game, right? You knew what each guy's salary was, and you had to fit under that.
right,
So, on our team at the time with the Lizards, if you had Gary, Paul played really at the end. Paul Gate, he was injured most of the year.
Right.
But Gary played the whole season. So you had Gary, who they paid top money to. You had Casey, who they paid top money to. You had AJ, who they paid pretty much top money to. We had 3 or 4 of the highest paid guys in the league, right? And I mean, some other teams, Millen, I'm sure, was a high paid guy. There were those guys on those other teams. So when you get down on our roster, when you're paying the top 3 guys the top amount, and you got a game day number you got to add up to and stay under, you're going to have guys in the game that are getting paid hardly anything or the minimum, which is what we had. So, are you putting your best team out there, or you're playing the game where you're trying to figure out the math to get the best team you can and stay under the game day cap? I don't know if the PLL has that same situation, or if it goes by game, if it goes by the season, if it goes by whatever. But clearly, what team would not want to have Dane Smith back for the season? Something happened there that we never knew. Whether he said,
well, he,
"Well, he could play box in Canada." He got an offer from them for, let's say they offered him 5,000-10,000 more to play there. He says to himself, all right, I'll go play here for 5,000-10,000. Unless they match it, I'm going to stay here. And that's maybe what he did. But we don't know these things, and that's
yeah,
what I
if that's
say.
the case, how is that Towers' fault or anybody on the staff's fault?
They get 85,000. They get about the most they get. I would say I did a little research. I looked it up quick, but it may not be. I would say it makes a little sense between 40 to 5,000. The top coach gets 85,000. I would say that sounds about normal. I don't think in the hundreds of that.
Sounds like a lot to me. I just know from the history of what guys got paid in other league, if they're getting.
Well, keep it at 40 then, 39,000. It said the top guy might get 85.
The issue for a lot of these guys that might get burnt out with it is that, what other family obligations they have, because it's a lot of travel involved.
It is a lot of traveling.
They're calling them the New York Atlas and they're home based Albany, but like you said, they're not having home and away games. They're going from city to city to city. And the end of this year, if you lived on the East Coast, they had to go to Salt Lake. Then they went back out again. Then they went back out again. It was like every weekend you were going to the West Coast for like the last.
That's
3
a lot.
weeks. Yes, for a guy who's got another job, and let's say the guy's got a family, so that's why you could see turnover in this.
It's hard.
At the
It's hard. And then if you're paying coaches a lot, it's a lot of money. And then the investors, it's one guy investing. The billionaires. You see, you need billionaires to invest in this league.
Listen, this lacrosse is a professional sport, is a work in progress. And I think if anybody could pull it off, it's Rabel.
I agree.
It's Rabel. He's done everything. I mean, I think his heart and soul is in it. I think he's making the right business decisions. I think he's doing a lot of things the right way. And he could do everything 1,000% right. It could still fail. That's the bottom line. It's not, and it's not no knock against him.
He needs help. He needs help.
just the nature of the beast. I think, is it a sport that could ever get popular enough? Because now he's competing. It goes into September. You're competing with college football, and pro football comes in the same season. You got college. It just seems like college lacrosse is still king.
Is this odd, though, Vin? Like, and somebody was saying this to me. You got a league, right? And I don't know if this is just the state of the time. Smalley will like this. You have a league that has these teams and players and coaches and everything else, and the two most identifiable people in the league are the coach of the chaos and the referee. There are more things on the internet for them than anybody else in the league. That's why Smalley has to give guys nicknames. He has to go out.
Well, they get. Well, obviously, Matty Palem as the chief referee, he gets more FaceTime and more airtime than any player.
Right.
He's out there making calls. The game gets stopped a million times for him to come, click on the thing,
Right.
give the thing like this, right?
Yeah.
How Smalley even give him? How did you do it, Smalls?
I got to do that one. By the way, I have to put that up. I have Smalley's referee audition video.
You got to bring the WWF into it. You got to give them nicknames. They should hire me with a mic to run off the side with Palin and what's going on here. What do the fans got to see, Coach? What's the play? What's the call?
They have that guy on.
Little nicknames for the guys. The Abominable Snowman, the Midget Mice. I mean, come on. WWF sells more. They sell more.
Steven, get on the hotline to Rabel. I want to talk to him. I'm going to put
the Midget Mice.
Smalls, you know what we got to do? We got to make this is what Steven. This is what we got to do. We got to make a Smalley audition tape to be the sideline guy. We'll go to Hofstra. We'll film it right on the sideline and make believe the game's going on and have him running back and forth. We'll play that video.
Man. I mean, you come up with nicknames. We'll sell merchandise. We'll talk about merchandise. And in all due respect, let me give a couple of shout-outs, even Andy Towers and the other coaches. God bless them around the holidays. They're leaving the team. They're great. They did everything they can. There's only so much sometimes people can do. Rabel's on a short string. These guys he's the guy behind the scenes. He makes the calls. He makes the plays. Then he's the guy on the other end where he's got to call up. Yeah, get rid of him. He's doing everything. They're doing so much to survive the league. And then they got guys like you sitting back, the critics. You would be, I don't want to speculate. I don't want to do this. I'm not picking on you. I'm not picking on you, but all of us, me too, saying? And the league's barely surviving, and it's hard. It's really hard.
Here we go. No, you see what he does? All I did was praise Rabel, say how much I enjoy watching the league, said all positive things, and he says I'm being critical.
No, I'm saying.
In a negative way. A negative way. He put the negative spin on what I was saying, you see?
He knows he's doing great, and you're right. You always say Rabel. What he's doing is incredible. He's like the only air pilot fighting the Koreans, back in the day. The guy's up there by himself.
When he's got the other things going on, and he's got Kelsey involved, and he's got Flavor Flav, and he's got Vinny's actor where he was getting the surgery. What's his name? When you were getting the surgery, he was getting the surgery.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright. So, I mean, he's got.
They're really doing good. All the guys are trying. They really are trying.
But yes, with all that being said, and all those things he does, which is amazing to me, that he loves doing it because he loves the game.
Sacrifice his life, the kid. He's not married. He's a single guy.
The question is to get people to view and to get people in those seats.
Correct.
It's very difficult. The timing of the season, all of that. There's no lack of effort. Let's put it that way. And listen, the players also make a lot of sacrifices. Definitely. They do, but we go back. We started this whole podcast today talking about a club team where we had to pay to play, right? We had to give money to play on a team. Yes. We had to pay for our own uniforms. We had whatever we needed to get feels. We just truly for the love of the game. And I think these guys, they've been given an opportunity to make a few bucks. They've been given an opportunity to showcase themselves, to maybe make some kind of sponsorship deals, which a bunch of them do have sponsorship deals. The top
Do we have
players.
sponsors? Do we have money in the till or nothing yet? Do we?
Who, us? No,
Yeah.
well, everybody's still waiting for you to put your store up. They're
Yeah,
still
we.
waiting
No,
for
how
you.
about I want to hire? Listen, can I hire Andy Towers? Can I hire
You wanna
Andy
hire him?
Towers for the force? I mean, come on.
You should
I'd
hire
like to
him.
get
He'd
Andy
be good
on
for you.
here.
You're two same kind of guys. Hype. You're hype men.
The hype man.
We survived 2 hype men.
Yeah, wow, that would be like worlds colliding.
I'll hire the kid from Syracuse. You know, the defenseman, the famous defenseman.
Beardsley?
Beardsley.
Beardsley'd be great for this. He's a one-punch target.
No, listen, Beardsley coached in the league for a year or two, right?
Is Beardsley the toughest guy to ever play lacrosse? Is he basically one of the toughest guys ever, in your opinion?
Toughest in what sense?
Toughest lacrosse player, toughest fighter. Because someone told me he's probably the toughest guy to ever play lacrosse. I think he is.
I don't remember him ever fighting. I remember him being
He's a
very
fucking-
strong.
He's a beast. Come on. I mean, it'd have to be somebody like.
Big boy. I did see him cross-checking that guy's head into the
Are
ground.
you
with
kidding me,
glasses.
Steven?
Yes, I did see that. But
Remember that?
I've also seen many of those knuckle dragging Canadian.
There's some rough guys.
Beardsley can eat a 40-ounce. Beardsley can eat a 48-ounce steak.
Rick had good size and was very physical, could be physical, but Rick was highly skilled.
Yeah, he had one of the best sticks to pick up balls, check. He could do anything.
He's still teaching kids how to really, as tough as it is to dislodge the ball, he still found ways to.
There was only one thing Rick even admitted to. His biggest problem he had. He had a small Kadaka. I'm just kidding. But I love Rick. A shout out to Rick. Merry Christmas.
I spoke to him this week, and I did. I spoke to him this
What?
week.
You spoke to him?
I just spoke to him a couple of days ago. He called me, and I spoke to him.
He's great, yeah.
I speak to him all the time, and Rick's great. And as an athlete, there was nothing more frightening. He was one of the original guys coming over the midfield line and shooting rockets.
Yeah.
This guy had a stick. He was one of the most dangerous guys coming down.
Yeah, I'll never forget.
He reminds me more of like a middle linebacker for like Syracuse. Why didn't he play football, a guy like that? You know what I'm saying? Like a guy. It seemed like the wrong school.
Of course
He
he
did play football.
Yeah.
But Steven, remember we were playing for Mount Washington in Vail, and him and Kiss ran that, he crossed the line. Kiss, I don't know, remember who was first, or one went over the line, ran down and ripped the shot and just pinged the corner and said, yeah, how do you like that? And then the other guy came down, did the same thing. The two of them came down, corners one after the other. It was pretty remarkable. They both shot it dead in the corner. It was unbelievable.
The only time I didn't see Rick on his game, one time we were playing for Arena. We were playing out in Greenport. It was Saturday, Sunday, and Darren Lowe was with us. And of course, we got the bright idea after the Saturday. We said, let's go to the Hamptons. So we drive to the Hamptons, and we're out in the Hamptons, till 4 a.m. And we said, where are we staying? We didn't have a hotel or anything. So we drive, and we have a 9 o'clock game, playoff game. We drive back to Greenport. It's maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. I put the Jeep under the tree. I said, kick back, guys, get some rest. We got a game in a couple hours. We slept in the car, got up to play the game. We were a wreck. We got taken out. That was pretty rough. But it was fun. We always had fun.
Yeah,
Rick was great. So much fun to be around.
I like to get a nice big Christmas dinner going together with about 20 people. That would be nice.
Yeah, where do you want to? What? Well,
I heard you guys were on a pretty good list this year. I was on the naughty list. You guys were on Tillman's list. I will. That's all. I'll leave you there. I know what you're getting too. I ain't saying nothing. He'll cream me if I say something. You've been pretty good this year, so keep it going for another year,
Listen,
guys.
2025 is coming. We got a big year ahead. We have to bring all the insights. We got to bring the experts. We got to bring the coaches. We got to analyze the season. Notre Dame's going for the three-peat. Everybody else is looking to stop them. It's going to be a tremendous year. And like I said, we're going to blink our eyes and be there. So we got to be ready. We got to be ready to go. We need Smalley on his game. We can't have him. He's got to be. He's got to be on it this year.
Listen, I'm going to be on every game. Now I know how to treat the scoring and the plays.
Steven, you're not going to get 100% of Smalley because this is also basketball season and
Well,
he's
that's
all
true.
about basketball. Bobby courtside. He's a big man at St. John's now. He's right there with Rick
That's
Pitino.
true.
Rick Pitino's taking advice from him. He's
I think
signaling
so
plays
too.
in from his courtside seat. He's right under the basket. He's coordinating the defense. I watched the game the other day. I saw him on TV the whole game. He's all over
And
the place.
he's getting a lot of exercise. If St. John's he shoots up out of his chair every time they make a
Yeah.
bucket. If they make 50 baskets, it's like doing 50 squats.
Oh, it's so crazy. They had that tribute to Louis Conaseca. Just a quickie on this. The guy was an icon for St. John's back in the days with Walter Berry and all the people. He was there that day. I mean, Walter Berry and the guys. The tribute for him was unbelievable. He brought so much love to that St. John's. It's like I always felt it was like home for me. Is to play there. And they got a shot. There's still so many good teams. They drop below number 20, but they're in the top 30, like that teams, whatever.
So
So
let's get to the shout outs. Let's move it along to the shout outs. Is anybody ready with their shout out?
I'll give a shout out to Andy Towers, and maybe they could come. Maybe they could come on the set here a couple times and help us out, maybe like that.
All right. That sounds
And
good.
Merry Christmas to them. I mean, they put a lot of time into it too. They're like everything else. Panetta, shout out to Panetta.
I'll give my shout out to Casey Rogers of the New York Giants and Leland Rogers, his father, who's the head coach of Cortland State lacrosse, and Peter Schaefer, Casey's agent, who he made the active roster of the Giants. So when I was fortunate, I got to go watch him when he was in the tryout phase. He went to University of Oregon, and then he was trying out for the Giants. He made the practice squad. He got signed to the practice squad, worked hard, and then circumstances, he moved up to the active roster. He played in this past Sunday's game. So he realized his dream, and he's a lacrosse guy, Smalls. He's an attackman. Imagine that, a 6'5", 300-pound attackman. Imagine trying to stop that guy.
Cool. Yeah.
But he's in
cool.
the NFL and shows that if you keep working hard and you have good work ethic and you follow your dream, you can make it. And that's
100%.
really
And no drinking for college kids. That's
all right. Vin, how about you?
Well, Smalls mentioned him. My shout out is going to go to legendary coach Lou Conaseca. May he rest in peace. You and I had great memories going with our brother-in-law Artie. May he rest in peace. Also, going to those St. John's games back in the day when the Big East was really the Big East was unbelievable. The talent level was off the charts. Every game was crazy.
Chris Mullen, right?
Yeah, Mullen and the whole Wennington and Mark Jackson. You could go down the list of players, Willie Glass and all those guys. We were lucky enough we had seats right behind the bench for those games. And I enjoyed the games more at Conaseca back then than I did at the Garden, because they would move like the Georgetown game to the Garden because there's no way they'd go nuts trying to get into
Too many people, yeah.
Hall. And but the games that were played at what's now Conaseca Arena, right? It was called Alumni Hall back then, right? And we used to go and see those games. We were big fans, and Lou Conaseca obviously the tribute they gave him at the game Saturday, but prior to that, what was written in the New York papers, talking about him just being a real gentleman of the game, and being a guy that so many coaches wanted to emulate, guys up and coming wanted to emulate him. Just was a good man, just a really good man. He fell short 32 days or something of his 100th
Yeah, I was
birthday.
going to the birthday party. I got invited. Oh,
Yeah, he was 99 years old. It would have been nice to see him make
make
100.
100. Yeah.
But I give a shout out to him for all the lives he impacted, and for all the good times we had watching him. He gave us a lot of good memories, especially with those sweaters.
Right.
Yeah, the coach wore a sweater that day. Patino came out with a
Yeah.
sweater. He had it custom made, and they buried the sweater. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really something unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up. Wishing everyone out there a happy holidays. We'll come back strong. 2025. Come out hot. We're heading to Florida. That's another thing on the agenda. We're heading out to
There
Florida.
he is. Yeah. Who's that?
Florida.
I'm sorry to overtalk you, Stephen. Just a quickie. There's Louis Carnesecca at his 99th birthday. He's sitting down. Tim O'Connell to the right. You got Vinny's friend that played. Frank Alasia. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to
Frank
see.
Alasia
But
there. And a bunch of the guys from St. John's, Just the history of men's, like Vinny said. But go ahead, Stephen. Thank you.
So we won't be on. We'll be down in Florida. Last year in Florida was when we laid out our top 10. Maybe we'll do that in Florida again. We'll lay out the top 10 for the college season preview. And then once we're back from Giza weekend in Florida, which is the Martin Luther King weekend, then we're in full gear. We'll be
the first games, I think, in the first week of February would be the first games.
Yeah, first week of February. And then right away, there's some big games. You got that on the calendar, March 1st, I think it is, Maryland and Notre Dame down at Georgia Tech Stadium. That's going to be a great game early in the year. Every game matters. I mean, look, the divisions, every team's getting better.
We
It's
didn't
gonna
talk
be a
about
great
it.
season.
Maybe the next episode maybe we'll do one more. It was interesting to see because at that dinner we did ask the coaches who they thought could get to the Final Four. Some of them were a little reluctant to, say their own team, but there was a kind of a consensus about two or three of the teams that they all thought. And
Right.
so yeah, we saw it, Smalls. So there was a top 50 players listed on Inside Lacrosse. They did. And what's interesting was Notre Dame had the most in the top 50 players. They had 4 of their players in the top 20. So, obviously this is a very subjective type of list by guys who compiled it, but I would say they're pretty accurate. I mean, the guys I looked on the list and that they're predicting big years for, but to have 4 guys from the one team in the top 20, that's pretty strong. They got the kid Light, the defender who's back. He was great last year. He's a top player. They got him as like the number 3 player, and he's only a sophomore. They have
Stephen, who'd you say the top attackman was in the country right now? Stephen said it before. I don't know.
Kirst is listed as the number 1 player overall and top attackman.
I
Number
don't think
2,
you can argue with that.
Stephen said another guy.
No, he's the
right,
number 1 guy.
No, number 2 behind him is Kavanaugh,
Right.
And but just sticking with ND, they got one of the middies, that big midi, Ben Ramsey, number 13. He's number 13, and then they got a long stick midi at 17 and an attackman at 18. So you got 5 guys in the top 20. They're going to be strong.
Yeah, all good, bro.
That helped them to win it all last year. They definitely had a lot of depth, and he played them. A lot of coaches are reluctant to play guys into their third midfield, second and what looks to be like a third midfield.
Well, if you got guys that strong, you're not that reluctant. And
well, that's what I'm saying.
It also makes them he's got the fortunate ability to have the guys in the third string challenge the guys in the first string. If they're not really bringing
they're
it,
fighting
then
for playing time.
they're
They're
fighting.
fighting for playing time. That's why I say,
That's a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. I want to know what you guys are getting me this year because I've been damn good, man. What an addition to have this kid, right? I ain't gonna be around too much longer, man. So enjoy.
Well, you had a that's what I'm saying. You had a huge 2024.
Thank you, Steve.
2025. There's a lot of expectations now. This is what expectations are.
Something nice this year, guys. Come on, go out. It's not every day you meet a guy like me. But God bless you, though. Really, seriously.
All right. To all the fans, all the people out there, if you should hit that subscribe button, whether it's Apple Podcast or whether it's Spotify. This way, when we do shoot up an episode, it'll come right out to you. Otherwise, we'll throw up some clips on Instagram. Wishing all of your families, a happy and healthy holidays. Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. God bless you and your families, and we will be back in. Hopefully, maybe we'll get one more towards the holidays, but if not, we're looking forward to a big 2025. And Smalls, I got some new music for you. Listen to this one.
Good.
That's going to be his walkout music. That'll be his walkout music. All right, signing off. Make sure and download.
God bless.